Hey friends, it is Jenna, what is up, and welcome back to the Board Game Garden. I have my glasses on today because I had an eye appointment today and they did a bunch of tests on my eyes, and now my eyes are tired and hurting, so your girl has her glasses. Ignore them. Hopefully they don't cause any glare or anything. We will see, but I am getting new glasses, so that's fun. But anyways, today we're going to be just chilling here, chatting all about my most recent convention that I went to, which is Breakout Con. I did one of these last year as well, I think. I've done them every single year that I've gone to Breakout Con, where basically I do a little bit of a vlog and recap, which I could have done a full-on vlog for this one, but I really like to chat through things as well. So I'm going to be talking to you guys like this, but then I will also be putting over a bunch of B-roll of all the games that I played, all the things that I did when I was at Breakout Con. Breakout Con, if you guys do not know, is a convention that happens every year in Toronto, Ontario. It happens at the Sheridan Hotel in Toronto, downtown Toronto, and it is probably my favorite convention. I just love being able to spend a lot of time with local friends and meeting people from the community. This year I met a lot of people from the community, which made me really, really happy. So yeah, it's just a great convention. They also have a bring and buy, which I always bring some games, and I also always purchase some games, which is always fun. I wish that more conventions had bring and buys, because I always find it so much fun looking to see what games people are getting rid of and finding really good deals. I've always found some fantastic deals at the Breakout Con bring and buy. And then also I think it's great that we are purchasing secondhand and not having these games go to waste. So yes, without further ado, we're gonna get right into this video. Like I said, I'm going to just be chatting through all the games that I played, some games that I purchased, different things that I did throughout the convention. I was there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So if you guys want to hear all about my Breakout Con experience in 2025, then just keep on watching. Give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoy. Also, hit that subscribe button down below if you've yet to do so. We'd love to have you here in the garden, and comment down below if you want to go to Breakout Con, if there are any local conventions that you go to every year that you love as well. Please, I'd love to chat about that down below. But yeah, without further ado, let's get into this Breakout Con recap and vlog, shall we? All right, so getting right into it, starting with the first day, which was Friday. I will say that for this year as well as last year, so the past 2 years, I have shared a hotel room with my friend Steph. We've just found it so much easier having a hotel room in the hotel where the convention is put on. It's just so nice being able to stay in the hotel and then in the morning just go down to the convention area, and being so close to where you're playing games is just the best thing. So Steph and I actually made our way to the convention on Friday morning. We had some friends coming a little bit later on Friday, so we weren't 100% sure who was going to be there earlier in the day, so we decided to get there close to when the convention started. I think the convention started at 10, and Steph and I ended up getting there around 11 or 11:30. We checked into our hotel room and then we got straight to gaming. So Steph and I went to a game room. We actually walked around for a little bit, saw everything that was going on. Things were just getting set up at that time. There is in Breakout, or at Breakout Con, there is one really big gaming room, and that was actually the room that I played a lot in my first 2 years, a little bit of last year as well. I played in there and I found it really overwhelming, and a lot of my friends found it really overwhelming as well. So the nice thing about Breakout Con is they have that big gaming room, but then they also have a bunch of smaller rooms kind of off in other areas. So if you prefer a smaller, not as hectic, not as loud gaming area, then those smaller rooms are great. And that's actually where we as a group stayed pretty much the entire time this year, which made me feel a lot better. It felt just it was still a room with a bunch of people, but it wasn't as big as the big, huge gaming hall. That is the main gaming area of Breakout Con, where they have their library and stuff, which I will say Breakout Con has a fantastic library. Every single year they're upping it as well. And then also around the larger gaming area, there are some different booths. There's also a prototype area, which I think is awesome. So people that are play testing their games can actually set up their games there and have people come and test them out. So I think that's awesome. And then, like I said, there's a bunch bunch of different booths with different stores and different kind of things to do with gaming. There's also some rooms for KTBG, Kids Table Board Games. They are a Canadian publisher. They always come to Breakout Con. And then also Inside Up Games as well is a Canadian publisher. So they also attend Breakout Con too. So they had some rooms there as well. So Steph and I made our way to one of the smaller off to the side rooms, and we met up with our friend James, which James actually has an Instagram account called Little Meeples, and he does a lot of board game photography. So yes, we ended up meeting up with James and we played our first 2 games, the 3 of us. And the first game that we started off with was Circadian's First Light, which this is a game by Garfield Games, and it is one that I've really wanted to try for a while because it is a dice worker placement game. So I don't like exactly remember it because this was the first of many, many heavy games that we played. But like I said, it is a dice worker placement game. You are rolling your dice, and then with those dice, you are actually like pre-programming where you want to go. Everyone's going to roll their dice behind a screen, and then you are going to decide what you want to do with your dice. So there's either a top row, which is going to be the dice that you're going to be using for actions, and you have to perform those actions from left to right. So you're programming not only the numbers that you're going to be using for actions, but then also what order you're going to be doing those actions in. Additionally, you're going to be purchasing these different spaceships that are connected to the spots that you're putting your dice on. That is going to get you different like modifications for those spots that you're placing the dice. And then you can also decide if you don't want to use a dice for a kind of action, you can use it in the second row, which is going to get you income. So at the end of the round, you're going to be getting income based off of the dice that you have there. My special ability for my character, because there is like asymmetric characters, my special ability was that I could take my income turn in between everything. So instead of having to wait until the end of my turn to get income for the next round, I was able to get my income in between actions. So it was really cool in that regard. And then all of the different kind of worker placement spots that you're going to are going to need specific resources you're going to spend, and then the numbers are going to determine different things that you're going to do. There's a spot that depending on the number, you're going to go a specific direction on this other map area that's then going to get you more income. There's also different places that you're going to need specific dice in order to exchange different resources. There's this like main kind of area that reminded me a little bit of SETI in a way, because they're going to be like 3 different aliens, I think, if I remember correctly, that you're going to be randomly putting up there that are going to have like different objectives that you're going for. So in a way, it kind of reminded me of SETI a little bit with the different aliens and the different aliens bringing in different things to the game. So yes, overall, I really, really enjoyed this one. It's one that I could probably see myself getting into the collection. I am a huge fan of Garfield Games, and Circadian's First Light was one that I've been wanting to try for a while, and it, I think, was probably one of my favorite of the conventions. So that is what we started with. And then after Circadian's First Light, we went into our second game, which was Salton Sea. So this is a game by DeVere, and this is one of their like smaller box games. I've never really been like, oh my goodness, I need to try this game, because I've heard that it is really long. And also the theme of this, I don't even remember the theme. You're like digging into the mines, and then you're getting different resources, which I don't remember what the resources are, and you're like changing those resources into other resources. There's like a fire, and then there's like a battery. Still don't 100% know the theme of it, but it's just not a theme that I'm interested in. But I was not the hugest fan of this game. It was fun. I enjoyed it. But the game was so tight with money. I think a really cool part of the game was the fact that the cards that you used are actually the money as well. So on the back, it'll tell you if this card was a $1, a $3, or a $5. And a really cool part of it is the fact that you could actually play down a card, and that card would give you kind of a worker placement spot that's the same as one of the worker placement spots that you had on your board, which mainly the game is a worker placement game where you have a certain amount of workers. You're eventually going to gain more workers by going down this one track. But you have these workers and you're going to be doing worker placement on your own board to do different things, to, like I said, dig, put your drill down, process these different things from the ground, and then you're kind of like fulfilling these different contracts. You're also able to get these different like research cards that are going to get you different things and so on and so forth. So it is a worker placement game, and the cool thing is that the cards, you can actually play a card down to use as a worker placement spot. It is actually like one of the worker placement spots that are on your board, like I said, but it gives you some sort of discount. And then you're actually giving up that money for the time being until the end of the round, where you can pick up that card again. So it's this really cool puzzle of like, do I want to give up this money right now that I'm not going to be able to use to get different things in order to do a specific action for a discount, and then I will get that money back at the end of the game or at the end of the round to use in like the next round, if that makes sense. I feel like this is a game where you really have to utilize that a lot and really try to get to those higher cards and utilize those discounts as well. I don't think in the game I ever got a $5 card. I was just working with the 1s and the 3s, and I feel like it's a game where you really should be working up to getting those $5 cards and kind of creating this like engine, which in the first game, I didn't quite get that. I enjoyed my time, but it definitely wasn't one of my favorite of the cons. So that was the second game that we played, Steph, James, and I. That was Salton Sea. All right, and then next for the games that we are playing, Steph and I actually got left just the two of us because James had to go. He actually runs the family play area for Breakout Con. So he had to go and check on the room, and then he ended up taking over the room for a little bit while his kind of volunteers had some time to go and, you know, eat, do all the things. So Steph and I ended up playing a few games 2-player. The first one is actually one that I brought and one that I've been wanting to try for a very long time because I know a lot of my friends that enjoy trick-taking games really enjoy this one. This is a 2-player only trick-taking game called Lone Wolves. So this, again, is one that I've just wanted to try for so long. It's been on my shelf of opportunity for a while. It is from Wonderful World Board Games. I believe that is the publisher. And this was given to me for review by Wonderful World Board Games at Gen Con. And like I said, finally getting it to the table, and I was so happy that I did because I really enjoyed this one. So this kind of reminded me a little bit of Jiraku, if you guys have seen that game. It's one of my favorite trick-taking games, and it has a little bit of like trick-taking as well as area majority. And this one kind of has that, but it is 2-player only, and you're doing a little bit of like a track, or not really a track, like a lane battler, I guess. But it's trick-taking. So there's going to be 5 different or 4 different kind of terrain areas that you're going to be battling over, and you're going to be playing cards into these different areas in order to try to take over that area with majority. Eventually, once you have played all of your cards into these different areas, you're going to look at who has kind of control of that spot, and that is basically going to be numbers of cards added up. So if I played a 2, a 3, and a 7, let's say I have 12 there. So if I had majority, I would actually win that area, and each area is going to give you a certain amount of victory points. Additionally, with the trick taking, if you lose a trick, so if one person plays, which you don't actually have to play in the same area as a person or as your opponent, but if your opponent plays a card in, let's say, this area over here, you played a card over here, and it has to be the lead suit, so you have to follow suit. If I had to play something lower, I would actually lose. I would flip over my card to the other side, which is a 1, so it is a lone wolf, and that would contribute to the number for that area that you played that card into. And you're just playing these tricks. Whoever, like I said, loses, flips over their card, and it is a 1. And then you also have these different chips in each of these terrain areas that if you do lose, you get to choose one of those chips. There's going to be 2 face up that you know what they are, and then there's going to be 1 face down that you can randomly pick up if you want that one. But these chips are going to give you different abilities. You're going to be able to add that chip right away to any of the terrain, and you can only have, I think it's 2 or 3 chips in each of the terrains, and they're just going to add strength. They're going to add strength based off of the cards that you have there. There's also one that allows you to flip the victory point token on one of the terrains. So if you know that the opponent is going to win one of these specific sections, you might want to flip it over to a lesser victory point amount so your opponent is not getting as many victory points. Overall, I really enjoyed Lone Wolves. I am so happy that I finally was able to try it. And unfortunately, 2-player games are not typically something that I'm able to get to the table very often. So I'm gonna see if I can get Francis to play this one with me, and then I'll figure out more times that I'm able to play this one. I feel like this will be a great one to bring. If, you know, me and one other person ever are just not in a game, then we can take this one and play it. But yes, that is Lone Wolves, which I really enjoyed playing that at Breakout Con. And then Steph and I actually played this one here, which is another one I've been wanting to play for a long time, and that is Bus and Stop. So this is a game by Sashi and Sashi. I did get this one while I was in Japan. I don't think I got this one from PAX Unplugged. I think I actually got this in Japan. But this is a really fun one where basically you're just drafting from this line of cards. There's going to be a bunch of different types of people, and then they're going to have different colored backgrounds, and you're going to be drafting all of one color from this row. So I could draft all of the yellows, I could draft all of the purples, and you're going to be placing them into your bus. And your bus is going to be a 2x5 grid of cards, and if you ever have the max amount of 10 people in your bus, you do have to drop them off, and based off of how many of each type of person you have, you can decide which one you want to drop off. And then based off of that kind of category, so there's like the book lovers, there are like athletes, businessmen, mothers with their little baby, and you can drop off a group of those to get a certain amount of victory points. There's going to be these tiles that you're going to be getting based off of the ones that you're discarding. For example, like, you know, 3 mothers might get you 4 victory points, but if you get 4 mothers, you get 7 victory points, so on and so forth. So it's this fun puzzle of, should I wait to try to get more of this type of person to get more victory points? There's only a certain amount of each of those tiles that people are going to be able to take, so groups of certain things are only going to be able to be dropped off a certain amount of time before there's no tiles left. Also, additionally, a fun little thing that we had a lot of fun with is whenever someone does drop off, so if your opponent or someone else that is playing drops off a certain group of people, everybody at the table then has an option to have one of that type of person skedaddle from their bus. And I do think that it is actually called skedaddle, but Steph and I had way too much fun with like just saying like skedaddle. It was funny. You had to be there. But yes, it is a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. It's a fairly simple game, but I feel like this will be a good one just to bring to, you know, family and like friend get-togethers to play. It plays 2 to 4 players, so I'm excited to see how it plays with more players, because obviously Steph and I just played it, the 2 of us. But yeah, overall I had a lot of fun with this one, and I'm excited to play it more. So that is Bus and Stop. And then we also played Duck and Cover, which Duck and Cover is one that I've seen and I wasn't really interested in it, but it ended up being this very fun little game where, kind of bingo style, one person will flip over a card in the middle of the table, and then everyone has a grid of these ducks from 1 to 12, and you're going to be shuffling up those cards and then putting them into a 3x4 grid, and then the number that gets flipped over in the middle, everyone's going to have to take that number and then cover up, like pick up that number and cover it up, or cover another number up with that number. You're going to continue doing this, flipping over cards. You can either move that number on top of another number, or you can decide to move that number to an empty spot anywhere, and it's basically the first person to get all of their cards into one pile kind of triggers the end, and then everybody that has different cards, like different piles of cards, not into one pile yet, you will get negative points for the numbers that are on top of those piles, whereas if you are the person that gets all of your cards into one pile, it's going to be positive victory points. So yes, super fun little card game, very chill. We ended up playing that one. I played Animal Kingdoms, which is one of my favorite card games. It's a fun card playing area majority game. I've talked about it here on the channel quite a bit, so I'm not going to go too much into that one. I also additionally got to play with a few other people. For the most part, I was playing with the same people in the morning on the Friday, and then I ended up meeting up with Ryan and Carrie. They are friends of the channel, as well as I finally got to meet Graham, which Graham is also a friend of the channel and a fan of the channel. So I was able to sit down with the three of them and we played a 4-player game of Foundations of Rome, which I didn't get any footage of this, and I'm so sad because Graham brought his fancy version of Foundations of Rome. Foundations of Rome is actually his favorite game, so it was super fun to play with him as well as Ryan and Carrie. And we actually played with the Monument expansion, which was my first time playing with that one. And although I didn't use any of the monuments, it was very fun to play with them. So yes, Foundations of Rome, such a fantastic game. I do have Foundations of Metropolis, and it is the exact same game, and it's a lot of fun, but nothing will compare to playing with those like fancy 3D buildings and stuff. It's just so cool. So Foundations of Rome, absolutely love it. And then lastly for Friday, we actually ended up playing Critter Kitchen. We played a 5-player game of Critter Kitchen. Freaking love Critter Kitchen. It is so much fun. Everyone is like super excited about Critter Kitchen. I saw so many people playing it at Breakout Con, and it made me very happy. So played a 5-player game of Critter Kitchen late at night. It was so much fun. We were getting into that like late night silly minds kind of thing, and it's just, if you have played games late at night, you know, just the stupidest things become hilarious, and it's just a good time. So that was a lot of fun playing Critter Kitchen. And then I also wanted to quickly, before we get into Saturday, I wanted to show you guys a few games that Ryan and Carrie actually brought me. So one game was actually a game that a wonderful human at Level Up actually gifted me, and I was flying home from Level Up, so I wasn't able to bring this game home, but Ryan and Carrie actually offered to drive it home because they are local to me and they were driving from Level Up. So they were able to bring this home for me, which huge thank you, Ryan and Carrie, you guys are wonderful. And then additionally, Ryan and Carrie also gifted me with a copy of one of their games, which this is a game that I played for the first time at PAX Unplugged, and I absolutely loved it. And Ryan and Carrie actually saw me there, and they said that they had this game, and if I wanted their copy, I could have it because they just weren't going to play it. So they actually gifted me with their copy of Mosaic, which, oh my goodness, I loved this game when I played it at PAX Unplugged. So much fun. I'm so excited to play this again. I do believe that there is a solo mode, so I might even be able to... Oh, there's not a solo mode. It's 2 to 6 players. But even if there's no solo mode, I'm so excited to play this one with more people. The setup for this is a little bit crazy, but I think I'm okay with that because I just loved the gameplay of it very, very much. So huge thank you again, Ryan and Carrie. You guys are wonderful for this. So that was one game that I brought home from Breakout Con. And then, like I said, someone at Level Up, I'm not going to name them just in case they don't want that, but they did gift me with a collector's edition of a game that I've been really wanting, and that is Skyrise. Oh my goodness. I cannot thank the person enough for this. This made my entire time at Level Up. It was so kind of them to gift this to me. And yeah, fun fact, Skyrise, and I guess a little bit of a spoiler, Skyrise was probably one of my favorite games of 2024. So super excited to have a physical copy of this. I feel like this will be one that Francis will really enjoy and a lot of other people in my life will really enjoy. So I'm excited to introduce this to more friends and possibly even family. I feel like even my family could get into this. So yes, that is Skyrise. Oh my goodness. A huge thank you again to Ryan and Carrie for driving this home for me. Appreciate it. And that is everything for Friday. So once we were finished with Critter Kitchen, we went to bed. We woke up the next morning. I was running around like a crazy person in the morning because it was actually the day that there was the bring and buy. So every person that puts stuff into the bring and buy has a maximum of 20 games that they're going to put it into the bring and buy. And I actually brought the full amount of 20 games. And I underestimated how much work it would be to take all of the games from my car, bring them into the hotel, get them into the bring and buy, do all that. It was just a crazy morning. So I was running around trying to get that figured out before the bring and buy closed. And then we actually sat down and played my favorite game of the con, which was Galileo Galilei, which this is one that I need in my collection. This was a fantastic game. I loved the way that it looked. I loved the way that it played. Again, very much so like Sarkadian's First Light. It is a dice game, and I love dice in games. I just have discovered recently it's just something that I love in games. So this was one that basically you have this telescope that on your turn, you're gonna have to move, I think it's 1 to 3 spaces, and the telescope is then going to be facing one of these different tiles that are going to allow you to do something. You're gonna be able to do what the tile is and then what is on the board that your telescope is kind of pointing towards. You are then going to, after your turn, take that tile and move it down to the bottom. So you're always kind of shifting this group of tiles, and you can upgrade those tiles as well. And those tiles are going to allow you to upgrade your dice. They're going to get you more dice. They're going to allow you to put comments onto the board. And basically your goal of the game is to complete these different big stars as well as small stars. I don't know what they're called. Major and minor, maybe, which basically the major stars are going to be 2 colors mixed together. So it's going to be 2 primary colors mixed together to create a secondary color. So it might require, let's say, 8 orange. You're going to have 1 die of a yellow, 1 die of red. You can also have more than 1 of each of those colors, but you have to have at least 1 of each of them. And their pips are going to have to add up to 8 in order to get that card. And then you're just going to get a certain amount of victory points based off of the card. And then each card is also going to have these minor stars or minor constellations that are only going to require 1 die or 1 color. It's going to be like a primary color. You're going to be able to get those, place a star out onto that card, and the cards are going to have multiple of those minors on them. So I just overall really enjoyed Galileo Galilei. There's also this part of the game where you have these different people that you're going to be putting onto a track that you're going to have to move all the way to the end in order to get positive points for them. I don't remember what they're called, but basically they're the people that are doubting your studies, and you're going to get negative points for them if you don't get them all the way to the end. But yes, Galileo Galilei, oh my goodness, such a fantastic game. It is actually the same designer as SETI as well as Tea Garden, and I do think that this one is the one that I like the most, and then SETI, and then Tea Garden. So yes, probably one of my favorite games of the convention. Next up, we have a small little card game called Oh Meow Bow, which this is one that Steph got. And I think she has the German version, so it doesn't actually say Oh Meow Bow on the front, but it doesn't matter because it's just a card game. But I need this game in my life. It is a shedding game where you're trying to shed your cards, and then any cards that you have left in your hand, you're going to gain poop for them because they are all like animals. So there's dog cards, there's cat cards, and then there's also the yellow cards, which are like a mix of all of the animals and possibly some additional animals. But oh my goodness, it's a very straightforward shedding game that you're going to be able to play out either a single card or a run of cards or a set of cards, and then people going around the table can actually add to that, or they can beat whatever you have on the table, which I think is cool and a little bit of a change from the other shedding games that I've played in the past. But just the art in this game, I need it because there's a few cards that look like Penny and Walt. They are absolutely adorable, and I need Oh Meow Bow in my life, which I believe it's also a re-implementation of a game called 535, if I'm not mistaken. But yes, loved that game. Need it in my life, like I said. But I think before I get into the next games, I do want to kind of show you guys the games that I ended up picking up from the Bring and Buy, because this was around the time that the Bring and Buy opened, And the bring and buy, like I said, is probably one of my favorite things. I'll put up some B-roll of all of the games and just like everything going on. I think it is absolutely fantastic what they do. And they end up getting like thousands upon thousands of games in this bring and buy. And like I said, I could just walk around that bring and buy and look at all these games and figure out which ones I want and stuff for hours. But we typically try not to spend too much time because we do want to obviously game. But I actually only purchased one game, and it's a game that I have wanted in the collection for so long. It is a pretty hefty game, but my friends Steph and Aiden actually yelled at me from across the bring and buy that they found this for a fantastic deal, and I cannot tell you guys how happy I am that I have this game in my life now. So the game that I am talking about is La Granja or La Granja. I don't know how to pronounce it, but this is the Deluxe Master Set, which this is published by Board and Dice, and this is a fantastic game. It is also a fantastic production of this game. I've seen like the normal La Granja like version, but this one just, it is absolutely stunning. I actually found out also that this is a fully sleeved version, and I got this for $80, which I think is a fantastic deal. And you can play this one solo. This is probably one of my favorite multi-use card games, and I cannot wait to talk about this one more. I might actually do a live stream of this one, maybe before the end of March, because March is multi-use card March, but we will see. I don't know if I have a lot of time before the end of the month. So it might be at the beginning of April that I stream this, but I love this game so much. I've played it many times multiplayer, and I'm excited to play it more multiplayer. I'm also excited to play it solo, and I'm excited that I found, or Steph and Aiden found me, a great copy for a good price. So that was actually my only purchase from the bring and buy, but I also got another game, which is actually one that I'm really excited about. Fun little thing that happens with the bring and buy is because we end up playing in a room that's like off in a little area that's close to the bring and buy. This has happened 2 years in a row, and I promise we did not specifically plan this to happen because we knew that it happened the year before. But basically, once everyone has come and pick up their games that didn't sell at the bring and buy, they have a bunch of games that they don't necessarily want that people have kind of like donated to Breakout Con because they just didn't want to come and pick them up after the bring and buy. So they go to the nearest room to the bring and buy, which happened to be the one that we were in, and they said, hey, we have a bunch of games. Whoever comes into the room first come, first serve. So I ran into that room and I saw this game, and I know that this game is actually out of print. And it is a Stefan Feld game, and I am so excited that I saw this because I've heard some great things about this game. But the game that I'm talking about and the game that I got is Aquasphere, which again is an out of print Stefan Feld. I don't even know how the game plays. I love Stefan Feld. It is a TMG game, and like I said, I've heard people talk about this before, but I'm not sure, how it plays. So I'm excited to see what it's all about. 2 to 4 players, 100 minutes on the box. Oh boy. But I was actually very surprised to see that it was a Stefan Feld game. I didn't know that Aquasphere was a Stefan Feld game. So yes, those were the 2 games that I came out of the bring and buy with. But going back to the games that we played, another bigger game that I ended up playing was Endeavor Deep Sea. So I will talk about this one more. I feel like I've been yapping for a very long time, so I will probably just quickly go through the rest of these games. I also have a few other things to show you guys, but I played Endeavor Deep Sea. Fantastic kind of worker placement game where you're going to be going up these different tracks that are going to get you different things at the beginning of each round. So it's kind of like 4 income tracks in a way. One track is going to allow you to get these different assistants that are going to give you more worker placement spots to use. Another one is going to get you more discs or more workers at the beginning of each round. One is going to be how many discs or how many workers you can take back at the beginning of your turn, and then the other one's going to determine the amount of spaces that you can move your submarines, and then also how deep down you can go on these different tiles. Which my favorite thing about this game is that the kind of board that you're creating it throughout the game, and it's going to be different depths of where your submarine can go. And the cool thing is that each of these tiles that get revealed are almost like little mini games, which I personally love mini games. In board games is one of my favorite things. I've said that many times on the channel, but I really loved that part of the game, and I really want to play Endeavor Deep Sea again. It was definitely not one that I was like, oh my goodness, like I'm so excited about Endeavor Deep Sea. I'm personally not a fan of like sea and like underwater games, just freaks me out. But yeah, we ended up sitting down playing Endeavor Deep Sea. Absolutely fantastic. Probably another one of my favorite games of the convention. I think at the end of this video, I'll kind of go through maybe like my top 5 games of the convention. But we also played a quick game of Push. We did get a free copy of Push at the like registration of Breakout Con, which was awesome. And then I also got to play Explorers of Navoria, which this was probably one of my highlights of the convention because I was able to play this with a lot of my community members. So I ended up getting together with Kim, which Kim is a now friend community member, as well as I believe her husband, Aaron. We also played with Graham again. I played Foundations of Rome with him, but then I also played Explorers of Navoria as well. And then there was Cameron, I think is what his name was, if I remember correctly. I think he was a friend of Kim and Aaron's, but the 5 of us played a 5-player game of Explorers of Navoria. We actually planned the game ahead of schedule in the Discord, which if you're not part of the Discord, please join the Board Game Garden Discord. It's always linked down below. But we discussed it before. I really wanted to play Explorers of Navoria, and Kim so graciously offered to bring her copy and teach. And thank you so much, Kim. I appreciate that. But Explorers of Navoria, again, probably was one of my highlights of the convention. I enjoyed playing with the people that I played with, and then also Explorers of Navoria was so much fun. It's a fairly simple game, but I really enjoyed the different mechanisms. I loved you like draw chips out of a bag, and then depending on the chips that you draw from the bag, you're going to keep one. That's going to determine the colored card that you can draft, and then the other one's going to go onto the board, which then on someone's turn, they can either take 2 from the bag or they can just take 1 that has been placed on the board. But yes, and you're creating this tableau of these different cards. Some cards are going to get you income, some cards are going to get you like instant things, some are going to allow you to build buildings, some are going to allow you to go up these different tracks, and then some are going to give you like end game scoring and stuff like that as well. And then once you've finished drafting those chips and then drafting the cards, all of the chips that have been drafted, those are actually going to turn into workers that you are going to draft and place onto worker placement spots on the board. They're going to get you different resources, and depending on the resources that you collect, you'll be able to kind of trigger one of these 3 different areas on your board that are going to, again, allow you to move up on these different tracks, and it's going to allow you to get victory points in different ways. And I really, really enjoyed Explorers of Navoria, and I'm very happy to say that I did get a copy of Explorers of Navoria, so I will most likely be doing a solo live stream of Explorers of Navoria very soon. So yes, I ended up playing that, which I quickly want to, again, give a shout out to Kim because she did gift me with a few things, which was so nice. The first thing is actually my first ever, like, thermos, which I've never had a thermos in my life, and I'm actually surprised that I've never had one, but it is a Animal Crossing thermos, which, fun little thing is I recently reset my Animal Crossing island, and I'm getting back into Animal Crossing, which I was one of the 2020 people that got obsessed with Animal Crossing, and I was playing it every day, and I stopped, and now the obsession is back. But anyways, yes, this is a little Animal Crossing thermos. It'll keep my hot beverages hot, my cold beverages cold, and I'm actually excited about this because there's a lot of times where I leave to go somewhere and I really want to bring like coffee or tea, and I can bring it in this now, which is just so exciting. And then also another kind of Animal Crossing thing is Kim actually had a bunch of amiibo cards for Animal Crossing. So she ended up going through her collection and she gave me a bunch of amiibo cards. So your girl's gonna be able to invite any of these people or any of these villagers to her island. I specifically asked for Judy, which, fun fact, Judy is one of my favorite villagers. And there's Katie too, which honestly, I might get Katie onto my island because she's very cute as well. And just so many cute villagers. Robin is actually the villager that has the same birthday as me. So maybe I get Robin on my island. We got Sherb. We got Dom. Dom is very cute. And Raymond. Oh, Raymond. But anyways, yeah, I am so excited to have all of these. Again, thank you so much, Kim. I appreciate you so much. And I had so much fun playing Explorers of Navoria with them. And yes, so that was Explorers of Navoria. Ending off that night, we actually ended up playing a bunch of just silly games. We played a game called Guerrilla Marketing, which is a fun kind of word party game. We also played a game called Paku Paku, which is a like dice rolling, real-time, crazy dexterity game, which was a lot of fun. And then we ended off the night way too late at like 1, 2 a.m. with a game of Sticky Cthulhu, which is absolutely ridiculous. If I can get some footage of the Sticky Cthulhu game that we played, I will put it in here. But if not, just know it was absolutely ridiculous. But that was everything for the second day, which was Saturday. And then moving into the last day, we actually only played 3 games, and this is the day that's the shortest because the convention ends at 5. Typically that's when a convention ends on the Sunday, just so people can get home and get ready for the next week. But we started off the morning with a game of Tir na Nog, which this is a game that I've only ever played solo, and I loved it multiplayer as well. It is a game that I just find so satisfying. I don't know what it is. You're drafting cards and then you're placing these cards into rows, and each row has specific objectives and way that you're trying to put these cards, and you're trying to get groups of the same color cards together, and it's just very fun. So really enjoyed Tir na Nog. And then we got into a very long game of Darwin's Journey, which the more that I play Darwin's Journey, which it is now on BGA as well, so I'm playing on Board Game Arena as well, but the more that I play Darwin's Journey, the more I just fall in love with that game. Oh my goodness. I can probably say now that Darwin's Journey is probably going to be in my top 10 games of all time the next time that I do my top 100. Because it is just such a fantastic game. And this time we actually played with the expansion, and I'm actually tempted to get the expansion. I'm also tempted to seek out the like fancier version of Darwin's Journey. I do think that they have late pledges open for the other version that they recently released as well. So yeah, that game is just so good. And then lastly, once we were finished with Darwin's Journey, we ended off the convention with a game of Doodle Dash with, I think it was like 6 or 7 of us. Doodle Dash is a very fun, real-time drawing game. So fun. And it was a great way to end off the convention. So yes, that is everything for my 3 days of Breakout Con. I had such a fantastic time. Quickly before we end off, I did want to mention that I went to the Inside Up and KTBG area. I ended up purchasing this myself. This is from Inside Up Games, and this is a trick-taking game that can be played solo. And I know that a few people in the Discord actually played this one when we were doing the Trick-Takuary February month of trick-taking. So this was one that I saw a few people playing, and I'm excited to play it because there's not a lot of trick-taking games that can be played solo. So I was excited to see that this one can be played solo. And then I also stopped by the Wizards of the Grimoire booth because they actually had their physical versions of the new expansion for Wizards of the Grimoire, which I love. So they told me to stop by and grab a copy. This is the Shifting Sands expansion. I did do some content on this, which I will put up here if I can remember. I always do this and I always forget, but Jenna, remember this time. But yes, Shifting Sands, absolutely fantastic expansion for one of my favorite 2-player games. Excited to play with that. But as for my top 5 games of the convention, number 1 was Galileo Galilei for sure. Enjoyed that one so much. I think I'm not going to include Darwin's Journey because it's a game that I've played before. I'm not going to include any that I've played before. So Galileo Galilei, Endeavor Deep Sea, Explorers of Navoria, Circadian's First Light, and I think Bus and Stop? I think I really liked Bus and Stop. It's kind of it's a hard choice between Lone Wolves, Bus and Stop, and Oh Meow Bow. Oh Meow Bow. Probably Oh Meow Bow. So those are my top 5. But Lone Wolves and Bus and Stop are close in that top 5. But yes, that is going to be everything for this video. I feel like it was just a huge yappy video, but hopefully with all of the B-roll overlapped, it'll be a fun video to watch. But I picked up a lot of games, I played a lot of games, it was just such a fun weekend, and I just look forward to going to Breakout Con every single year. If you guys are in the Toronto area in Ontario, I definitely recommend checking it out. Even if you're not in that area, I definitely recommend, you know, traveling in if you are able to come to Breakout Con. It is always just such a fantastic playing convention. There's the bring and buy, which is also a great part of it. There's also like events and stuff. There is a big kind of scheduling area where you can, or scheduling thing on the internet where you can schedule games, sign up for games. I think it's on BGG that you can do that. And then there's also like a big math trade. There's also a big part of it that's like the D&D and like RPG section, which I've never really gone into that, but there is that available as well. And just overall, Breakout Con is wonderful. Definitely recommend. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up. Also, hit that subscribe button down below if you've yet to do so. We'd love to have you here in the garden. Please let me know if any of the games that I purchased or played are any that you love as well, or ones that you want to play as well. Let me know down in the comment section. I'd love to chat about that. But anyways, I love you guys so much. Remember, you are somebody's reason to smile, and I will see you in the next board game video. Bye, friends.